Hello, everybody. It's Reverend Chris Wilson from St. Andrew Christian Church, and here to talk about the sermon for July 21st. We started last week this series on the prophet Ezekiel, and we're still continuing down that path for this week and the next. We looked at chapter 1 last week, which is this wild, weird chapter that talked about God's presence still being with us. And then probably the next most significant chapter we find in the prophet Ezekiel is chapter 18. And one of the reasons that chapter is important in the whole scope of the prophetic work of Ezekiel is the people of that time felt as though their ancestors' goods or bads impacted their present life. So as an example, if my grandfather had done something horrible in the community, that I'm somehow tied to that negative act that my grandparent did. That somehow that blame kind of carries through the generations, and you're kind of connected to that. So once you've kind of got an ill stamp on your family name, that would travel with you. And one of the things that we find in this chapter is this release that happens. Is that you are not bound by what your ancestors did. Doesn't mean you're supposed to learn from your ancestors and not repeat the things that maybe previous generations did, but your own fate is not tied to what previous generations had done. And that's an important piece. But with that freedom being released from that, because with that, I can't really do any better than what my life is. If I'm tied to my ancestral mistakes, then you kind of just almost feel free just to kind of do what you want to do, because how is your life going to be any different because of what someone's mistake in the past meant for you? But if you're freed from that guilt or that shame of the past, is you've gotten this immediate freedom, this release from that. But one of the things that comes with that freedom comes accountability. All of a sudden, the things you say, the things you do, the way you live, all of a sudden matters. I mean, your life is of your own volition. You get to have agency, you get choice, you get the ability to make decisions that impact you, that are not impacted by generations from before. And so this chapter 18 is this nuance. God's people are no longer, we're in Babylon because of our ancestors. Well, we're now in Babylon and can chart a new course for our life that maybe brings new hope where we didn't see it before. And so there's opportunities for new beginnings and new things to rise up, almost like a phoenix rising out of the ashes. Out of this hardship comes this new opportunity to be something fresh and new. But you also are accountable for these new things. You don't just kind of live in this vacuum where we get to do whatever we want. There's still a covenant. There's still a connection and a connected tissue to other people around you. And what you do and how you live, it matters. It matters for you, your own well-being, your own thriving, your own abilities to do things, but it matters to those you're connected to and the communities you're connected to. So we will look at this nuance between freedom and accountability and what all that means and how much we need that in our world. We need accountability. We don't need people just to say things and move on, as we want there to be some accountability for people's actions and the way they live and not put the blame on someone else, but they take it upon themselves in some way. But at the same time, with that newness comes opportunities for great things to happen. So we'll explore that chapter. I hope you'll join us Sunday as we tackle the second week in the book of Ezekiel.